and the reason it didn't get any more publicity and better positioning was because it surrounded Punk. And again, Punk was a polarizing figure in the front office. This has been well documented. I thought that, I remember there when they shaved the head of Serena Deep. She's by the way, she's really, really talented. I think she's working with WWE. I think last I heard she was working with WWE as a coach. Really talented. Had a great life story. How she's resurrected her personal life and her professional career as well. So they did good. And then, that was a big break for Gallows, who's now, he's involved with the not Bullet Club, but the club, and with AJ and Carl Anderson and so forth. But that gave Gallows a pulse, and it gave Serena a pulse through the vehicle of CM Punk. But it was a very underrated faction. And I remember, again, as I said, Serena getting her head shaved on television. And that took some I started to say some balls. I guess it took some ovaries. But it was bold. But they all bought into the entire presentation. And you can't not respect that. It's just they're committed. And that's what you always look for in that regard, commitment. And they had it.
Yeah, they definitely had it. And this was a fun angle, a fun storyline. And I guess we should mention there is a match in here where there's some real stakes where he's trying to recruit Rey Mysterio. Then it becomes a feud with Mysterio. And ultimately, Punk has to have his head shaven, but he doesn't want to look like one of his followers. So he starts to wear a mask, and eventually he's unmasked. So some old school, fun, silly stuff here. But I guess we should just skip ahead because the real rubber meets the road when Punk's contract is about to come due. And while he may have been an Intercontinental Champion and an ECW champion and a tag champion and flip-flopped the world title a few times, he's just not happy, and he feels burnt out, and he knows he's not the guy. And on that DVD we've referenced a few times already today, I mean, Triple H basically said he was never positioned as the guy. And it was like, even when we gave you the belt, well, you're not really the guy. We're just going to give this for you a little while, and then we're going to take it back. And unbelievably, the creative is, hey, you get to air your grievances with a live microphone. And that goes down on June 27th, 2011 in Las Vegas. And it's the famous pipe bomb promo. And, it gets over so huge, it becomes the most viral thing in wrestling in years. Years and years. And as a result, the match now at Money in the Bank has a whole new layer. And they build to this for a few weeks, and then the match happens in Chicago, Money in the Bank 2011. If you're going to watch one match this week to get ready for CM Punk returning to the wrestling space, you got to watch him in his hometown defeat John Cena for the world title on his quote unquote last night in the company. Now, behind the scenes, I guess at that very event, I believe CM Punk signed a new contract. Is that right?
I think so. I think he did. Here's the thing about that is that it speaks to a bigger picture. Why would, if you didn't have complete faith from your boss and your upper management and yourself, why would Laurinaitis wait till the sands of the hourglass are running thin to start negotiations and get this thing signed? It's always going to be about two issues, Conrad: cash and creative. The guy was rode hard, put up wet. He hardly ever missed a shot. If he did, I don't recall him. But this speaks to the lack of respect and confidence that the upper management had in him. Still, after all he had done, after working with The Undertaker, for example, I don't remember Undertaker ever having one issue with working with Punk. Rey Mysterio had no issues working with Punk. So in the video that Hayes is describing, a lot of the older veterans didn't like this or that. I'm not saying, again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not there to hear all this dialogue with Michael, but I never got that from anybody. I never got it from anybody all I got from anybody negative about CM Punk was that he's a different breed of cat. He could be a strange guy, and that's because he was not overly extroverted. So in other words, he wasn't fake. He wasn't a sycophant. He was not an ass kisser. And because that was so contrary to the normal behavior of a top guy in any wrestling territory that I've ever been in, any of them, that he was just a different breed of cat, and folks did not know how to deal with him. And simple as that. Bad communication, and he didn't have the support in the front office that he should have had, and that's really, really sad.
It is sad. But he makes the most of it here because he gets over like nobody's business, and he becomes, as a result of this 5-star match and this performance here at Money in the Bank, the hottest, I mean, seriously, the hottest name in wrestling. And not too terribly long after winning the belt, he makes a surprise appearance at the San Diego Comic-Con, and they've booked this and presented this like he's no longer under contract, but he is the champion and he's left with the belt, and he's name dropping. Hey, I might go to New Japan. Hey, I might go to Ring of Honor. This added a layer of realism and intrigue that hasn't existed in not just WWE, but wrestling in years at this point.
And again, a lot of that was his idea. A lot of that was his execution. The execution was all him. And sometimes that will alienate one from the very sensitive writing team. Their idea got shit on, or their idea got improved immensely by letting the talent have input, which should be ongoing with every talent on the roster or anybody's company, AEW included. The talents have got to, like Junkyard Dog used to say, don't come to the arena like a cabbage, all head and no rear end. You got to have ideas, and you got to pitch the ideas, and you can't be BS. I gave the comparison earlier of Punk and Austin. Still think folks should go see that video. Find it. 2K, Austin, and Punk. You'll love it, and you'll wish you'll just make you Jones for the match, quite frankly. But it'll also show how good they were. But that Punk was a lot like Austin in that regard. You couldn't be BS'd. He knew what a good angle was. He knew what a good storyline was that fit him, and so that was the same situation there with him. He just was a guy that knew what he needed to do to get over. And guys like that, you let them write their own music, man. They're going to sing it. They're going to perform it. Let them have some hand in writing their music. And finally, I think WWE, maybe by accident, I'm not even sure, or maybe they thought it wouldn't get over. Let's just let him bury himself. I don't have no idea, but it worked. He got over, and he was, like you said, Conrad. At one time, CM Punk was without a doubt the hottest talent in all of pro wrestling. In any continent, anywhere, any promotion, he was the guy for a good period of time. And as an administrator, as a responsible administrator, how do you ignore that? How do you ignore that when they're having a problem as it is, as do most wrestling companies, and getting talents over to that star level where they are at the top of the card, name before the title type guy. And he was that guy, and it just was like an act of God to get that recognized.
Of course, in storyline, they're going to decide that, hey, Punk's no longer with us. We're going to crown a new champion. And of course, they decide to have an undisputed championship match when John Cena is going to defend his world title against CM Punk and his world title at SummerSlam. Punk wins the match, but then immediately loses it to Alberto Del Rio because Alberto is going to cash in, and a returning Kevin Nash is here to attack CM Punk on behalf of Triple H. And after SummerSlam, that becomes, the new direction. Punk is accusing Nash of conspiring with Triple H to keep Punk away from the title. And during their verbal back and forths, and there were some memorable moments on TV, we would hear Kevin Nash demean the look. And I think at one point Nash said that CM Punk looked like someone who worked the third shift at the Waffle House.
Well, it's echoing the sentiments of Nash's buddies, HBK and Triple H.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.